What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, as I am filming this has Invest 92L has been designated Tropical Depression 14. It is currently hovering near the Mexican coast right here, expected to impact Florida in the next 4 days. We're going to have to watch it very, very closely, as this does have a very high probability of rapid intensification as it heads towards potentially the Tampa Bay region. So that's the first thing we're paying attention to. We're also paying attention to Kirk, paying attention to Leslie, and we're paying attention to another area of interest out here in the Atlantic. But our main focus is going to shift back to the Gulf, obviously, because this system looks like it could easily develop and could easily escalate into something that we absolutely do not need to see, especially as recovery efforts are ongoing with Hurricane Helene. So let's go ahead and dive right into this right now. Here's the cliff notes that we got. Here's the latest public advisory, the first public advisory, that is tropical depression forms in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Forecast to strengthen and bring the risk of life-threatening impacts to portions of the west coast of Florida next week. So here's what we got going on. Maximum sustained winds of 35 miles per hour. Pressure of 1,007 millibars at this current time. At the center of Tropical Depression 14 was located near latitude 22.1 degrees north, longitude 95.1 degrees west. It's moving to the north-northeast at 3 miles per hour, so it's a very slow-moving storm, and it's expected to be relatively slow for the next day or so, and then gradually pick up the pace as it heads towards Florida. Here's what we're paying attention to in the discussion as of right now. Early morning 1 minute goes east satellite imagery shows that the circulation associated with the area of low pressure over the southwestern Gulf of Mexico has become better defined. Deep convection has been persistent over the northwestern portion of the circulation, with some increase of banding also noted. Based on the recent increase in organization, advisories are being initiated on Tropical Depression 14. The initial data has been set to 30 knots, which is 35 miles per hour, which is supported by overnight ASCAT data. Another ASCAT pass is expected to pass this system later this morning. The depression is within a very favorable environment of low vertical wind shear and warm sea surface temperatures. These conditions are expected to allow for steady to rapid strengthening over the next few days. The intensification will likely be slower during the next 12 to 24 hours until an inner core can become established. But after that, a faster rate of strengthening is anticipated. The global models predicted a significant deepening with the system while it moves across the central and eastern Gulf of Mexico, and the regional hurricane models show the potential for rapid strengthening during that time. The NHC forecast follows suit and calls for a period of rapid intensification after 36 hours. The official forecast shows the system nearing major hurricane strength over the central and eastern Gulf of Mexico. This forecast is near the intensity consensus aids, but some upward adjustments may be required as it lies a little below the regional hurricane models. Let me read this out to you again. This forecast is near the intensity consensus aids, but some upward adjustment may be required as it lies a little below the regional hurricane models. What the NHC is telling us is the 110 miles per hour that they currently have as an initial forecast is going to get upped as we get more information and more development. Regardless of the exact details of the intensity forecast, an intense hurricane with multiple life-threatening hazards is likely to affect the west coast of Florida next week. There's the key messages right there. And then here's what we have going on. We have 110 miles per hour already. This system is expected to move through Florida very fast and exit as a hurricane on the other side. So we're going to have to pay very close attention to that right now. And where it's at in the Gulf of Mexico, it's in relatively untapped waters. Even in the loop current where this is going to be passing through is still very untapped, despite being affected by Hurricane Helene. This entire western portion of the Gulf was recently affected by Francine, but didn't really do that much to the OHC, didn't do that much to the sea surface temperatures. And then you have Helene over here, didn't do that much to the ocean heat content, and then that's just stuff we're gonna have to pay attention to, as what is going to be Milton will be forming very quickly. Now we have Hurricane Kirk and we have Hurricane Leslie now. Hurricane Kirk is gradually weakening at this current point. I believe it underwent an eyeball replacement cycle. Pressure is 949 millibars right now. Hurricane force winds now extend outward 60 miles from the center. Tropical storm force winds extend outward 230 miles from the center. Oh, I forgot. I need to show you guys the cone for Tropical Depression 14. I forgot to show you guys that. Here's the cone that we have pulled up right here, expected to gradually strengthen in the next 24 hours, and then rapidly intensify up to a very quick and pretty strong hurricane as it moves north of the Yucatan Peninsula and makes its approach to Florida. Tampa Bay needs to watch very closely with this because this looks like it's going to be impacting and hitting either Tampa Bay or areas just south of that. I am praying it's just south of that because Tampa Bay has not had a hurricane in the last 100 years. So they need to pay very close attention to this. There should already be preparation starting as this is a rapidly escalating situation. I'm sure the governor of Florida is going to declare a state of emergency very soon if he hasn't already because of how quickly this system is escalating. This system isn't even a named storm yet, and we're already needing to pay very close attention to it right now. Regardless of that, though, Hurricane Kirk has been undergoing its eyeball replacement cycle. Let's go ahead and pull up the discussion very quickly. Right here, the inner core has become a little less pronounced and ragged on satellite imagery, with the eye becoming more clouded. Shear is starting to increase over the system, with some drier air intrusions becoming evident. The latest is in the intensity has come down to 105 knots. The hurricane is getting ready to move into a hostile environment. The system will also be traversing cooler sea surface temperatures. The system should lose tropical characteristics in the next 60 hours. Here's what we have going on. It's expected to become a post-tropical cyclone in the next 60 hours. The cone, let's go ahead and pull that up for you right here. The cone has this system becoming an extratropical cyclone and then impacting not just Britain or France, but a lot of Europe actually as well. So if you're in Britain, if you're in Ireland, if you're in France, the Benelux region, Germany, Denmark, and even in Scandinavia, you're going to want to pay very close attention to this, as this could be a very large and very powerful storm for your region right there. And this is a pretty strong extratropical cyclone as well, so you're going to want to absolutely pay attention to that right there. We also have Hurricane Leslie over here. Hurricane Leslie is gradually organizing and strengthening at this current point. Public advisory has it at 80 miles per hour, minimum central pressure of 985 millibars. Hurricane force winds only extend outward 15 miles from the center. Tropical storm force winds 105 miles from the center. If we go ahead and pull up the discussion right here, expected to get up to 85 miles per hour before starting to weaken as it moves into a more hostile environment. Deep convection continues to burst over the center of Leslie this morning. Some of the latest satellite images depict a little bit of shear starting to impact the system with a sharper convective edge on the western side. Subjective and objective satellite intensity estimates range from 70 to 75 knots. We're going to use a blend and go to 70, which is 85 miles per hour. The intensity continues to trend downward with Leslie. The system has about 12 to 24 hours left within a favorable environment, with some additional strengthening potentially occurring. By Sunday, increased shear, drier mid-levels, and taking Leslie over Kirk's cold wake. This could cause some weakening after 24 hours. There's a bit of agreement with the weakening trend. However, they differ on how significantly and how quickly it will occur. Therefore, downward adjustments were made by the NHC intensity guidance beyond 48 hours. If this trend continues, if this trends continue, further downward adjustments may be required in future advisories. So that's what we have with Leslie right here. Now let's go ahead and take a look at this area of interest out here. Now a 30% probability in the next 7 days. And here's what we have going on. A tropical wave is expected to move off the west coast of Africa on Monday or Tuesday. Some development of this system is possible thereafter, while it moves westward to west-northwestward across the eastern tropical Atlantic. The system is expected to move near or over the Cabo Verde Islands Wednesday or Thursday, and interest there should monitor its progress. 30% probability in the next 7 days. So we're going to have to watch that as well for the Cabo Verde Islands. But of course, our main focus right now is going to be on Tropical Depression 14, what will soon be Tropical Storm Milton, at the rate it's escalating, at the rate it's ramping up. So we're going to have to pay close attention to that, and we are going to go ahead and start with satellite imagery right here. Here's what we have going on from the DAPIA website. We can finally get this going right here. First of all, here's how deep the convection is right now. It's really been ramping up. It's really been blowing up. It has a well-defined center of circulation, which is right in this huge convective burst right there. And I'd argue it's already quickly organizing. It already looks relatively organized at this current point. We need hurricane hunters to go in and investigate the system very soon. And here's what we have going on right here. They are expected to send a recon flight tomorrow morning into the system. At this current point, they're expected to do surface to 10,000 feet analysis right there. So hopefully we get some more news, and hopefully we get some more information from the NHC in terms of Hurricane Hunter aircraft, because we need to investigate the system, because a lot of lives could be at risk once again, and we need to keep very close eyes on it. We need to pay very close attention to it, because the satellite continues to improve in structure each time we look at this. Seizure warning, by the way, for those who are prone to to flashing lights, Just want to make that perfectly clear as this as this loads up right here. Let's go ahead and show you what we have. The latest frames continue to show this escalation of the cloud tops. We're seeing a few minus 90s in there right now from this system, which is very concerning to say the very least. And it's kind of showing me that this system is rapidly organizing, rapidly continuing to escalate. And the outflow from this already is looking pretty concerning. It has really well-defined outflow already, not just over here, but also over here more so as well. This is going to allow for the system to really breathe and really develop right here, and you're already starting to see banding features on satellite as well, starting to organize and develop. I was just checking the Brownsville radar as well, actually, to kind of see if I could catch some of this in the United States, and you can a little bit. You can't obviously see all of it, but you can definitely start seeing those banding features starting to build up off the coast of Texas, off the coast of Mexico right there. So that's definitely something you're going to want to watch, and it's definitely going to be a situation where we're going to need some sort of radar as the system escalates, as the system organizes, so that way we get a better idea of what's going on down the road. But regardless of that, we are seeing a bunch of areas right now that are really ramping up, really developing in terms of convection. We're already starting to see this band right here really starting to allow for the system to breathe as well on the southeastern side. And overall, you don't have much shear impacting it. You don't have much dry air going to impact it. Its core is already relatively intact at this current point. It needs to develop an inner core at this current point before it can really ramp up and escalate. However, what we have so far is a really good starter package right now, and we're going to want to pay very close attention to this as well, because it's my opinion that based on these current trends, if this continues, we're going to have a situation where this system potentially organizes and develops in the next, well, it's already organized and already has developed, but this could potentially develop into a tropical storm by this afternoon as I am filming this video right now. Right now it's 10 o'clock. As the tropical systems advisory has just came out. You're not going to see this till this afternoon, but a lot of the points still stand, and because this is still moving at a very slow pace, and because this is a rapidly escalating situation, and I feel like I've already given a good enough analysis based on satellite already, I feel like a lot of the points I'm making in this video still stand. So that's what we have going on in terms of Tropical Depression 14. Let's go ahead and show you some track models and the intensity. Track models are very interesting to take a look at right here. Here's what we have in the next 4 days. This system is expected to move through Florida, with some of the outlier runs having this potentially heading back towards Lee County and towards the area where Ian made landfall near Sanibel and Fort Myers, that area. But the majority of the models have the system impacting Tampa Bay, with the potential eye wall of the system hitting in that region. Maybe not Tampa and St. Pete itself, but especially a lot of the suburbs are going to get slammed by this. And some of the more northern model consensus has this heading right over Pinellas County, right over the northern cusp of Hillsborough County, and moving over the Florida Peninsula and then into the Atlantic Ocean. So that's something we're going to have to pay attention to, because this is going to be very key, because pretty much a difference of 20 miles could mean that pretty much Tampa Bay is going to be relatively safe from the worst impacts, or it's going to be a huge blown out scenario where Tampa Bay just gets utterly destroyed. We don't want to see that. Already we've seen enough destruction and enough damage from Hurricane Helene. We do not need to see another one of these scenarios right there. And I've been watching this, and I've been warning you guys that something might be going on in the Gulf, so we're going to have to pay very close attention to that. Right now, intensity models have been really explosive all over the place right now. Intensity runs, the HWRF and the HMON wants the system to get up to Category 4 strength. That is very concerning for me. And you already are seeing a lot of Category 3, Category 2 intensities right here with a lot of these model runs. You're not seeing very many Tropical Storm or Category 1 runs. You're seeing a lot of Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4. And that is very concerning, especially if this is hitting heavily populated areas like the Tampa Bay region in particular that has not seen a major hurricane in over 100 years. 1921 was the last time they saw this, and this is going to be an absolutely devastating storm if this goes over Pinellas County, goes over Hillsborough County. Those areas right there, like the HMON and the HWRF, are anticipating right there. And that's very concerning. And the conditions they've been following are the conditions we've been watching over the last few days. Global sea surface temperatures, warm waters in the Gulf of Mexico, are already at 30 degrees Celsius where the system is right now. It's going to continue to be 29 to 30 as it goes all the way to Florida right there, all the way to the Florida Peninsula right there. So you're going to have an embarrassment of riches for the system as the warm water factor isn't going to be that much of a inhibiting factor even as Helene has made landfall, kind of like I was talking about earlier. So that's the global sea surface temperatures. Ocean heat content continues to be well off the charts right now, and we'll go ahead and move to October of 2024 and get you a new map. October 5th right here. This is what the OHC looks like, and where the system is right now, it's over an area of about 100 OHC, and that's going to continue all the way until it gets to the loop currents. And depending on if it enters wherever it enters, it could be 125 or 200 OHC. Hopefully it gets in the 125 because that would also mean a further south track and Tampa Bay would be safe, but that would be at the risk of Sarasota and Fort Myers, areas that were impacted badly by Hurricane Ian in 2022, and we absolutely do not want any scenario to play out. So we're going to have to pay very close attention to this. Looking at the wind shear right now, where the system is at right now, it's in the perfect area of wind shear, I will tell you that. It's in the wind shear is relatively high to the north of it, very low to the south of it, and it's kind of in that middle shear pocket, and that's expected to remain that way all the way until it gets to Florida, and that's why the rapid intensification is going to be very concerning to watch. So, because what we're seeing with all the shear is this outflow is really ramping up, really developing very fast, and we're going to have to pay very close attention to that. Let's go ahead and show you some model runs right here in terms of what we're seeing with I don't think we have the hurricane model runs right now for Invest 92L because of how fast this has been escalating, but we will pull up some operational runs with this because this is very serious and we're going to have to pay very close attention to that right now. Let's go ahead and start with the European. We'll start with the GFS, go to the European, and then move to other runs as well. We'll start with the GFS run right here. GFS really has the system ramping up, organizing, and developing very fast. Gets down to a 948 millibar system as it moves north of Tampa Bay, which would be an absolute nightmare in terms of storm surge, as that could be a lot of surge, even worse, I would argue, than Helene because of how much closer this system is. This would impact the northern parts of the Tampa Bay region, make landfall there, exit as a hurricane, and then move out to sea right there from the GFS. Let's pull up the European as well. We'll use the 0Z Euro right here. 0Z Euro has the system organizing, developing, rapidly escalating, rapidly intensifying up to a 983 millibar system, although a lot of the guidance has this a lot stronger, while this does impact the Sarasota and Port Charlotte regions right there in Florida. You're going to want to pay attention to those areas if you're tuning in. Pretty much anywhere on the west coast of Florida needs to pay attention to this because this could impact anywhere, but the highest chance of that is either the Tampa Bay region or Sarasota. So that's what we're looking at. CMC run organizing and developing, has it moving much further to the south, stays just off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula, and then gets down to a 974 millibar system as it approaches Florida, makes landfall, and moves over Lee County and Lee and Collier County near the Naples region. So we're going to have to pay very close attention to that, and all areas along the West Florida coast need to keep a very close eye on this because of how rapidly this situation is escalating. We'll continue to update you here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. Shout out to Daniel as an official sponsor of the Pat's Path Predictor Patreon. If you want to come help us out and support the channel more directly, be sure to join the Patreon. It's the first link in the description down below. And if you want to come talk to us on Storms United about the system that's continuing to escalate, as well as ask us questions about what we think is going to be going on, be sure to join the Storms United Discord server. Link to that is right over there. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.